Things are getting crazy at Eagles training camp with Jalen Carter dominating at practice and making some incredibly impressive plays, one against an Eagles legend on the offensive line. On top of that, safety Reed Blankenship has been showing out, leading one reporter to believe that he's a future household name. Plus, the Eagles' new linebackers are already playing a huge role in the defense, with one looking like he may potentially get the chance to start alongside Nakobe Dean. And speaking of Dean, we got some huge news regarding him as well. And in addition to all of that, we got some other players making headlines at camp just before the Eagles' first preseason game versus the Baltimore Ravens. So we're going to talk about all that in this video today, so let's not waste any time and get straight into it. The Eagles' first preseason game versus the Ravens is just days away, where we're going to get our first look at some of these guys that we've been hearing so much about during Eagles camp. And one of those guys is rookie defensive tackle Jalen Carter, who has been dominating throughout all of training camp so far, and the past two practices were arguably the most notable for Carter, as on Tuesday, according to Seamus Clancy, he, quote, blew up guard Josh Sills with a pure pass rush on one rep and then threw him to the ground on another. And then on top of that, Carter also helped combine for a sack on Tanner McKee with fellow Georgia Bulldog and first-round draft pick Nolan Smith. And then finally, and easily the most notable play that Carter made during Tuesday's practice, was when he was going up against Eagles All-Pro and future Hall of Fame right tackle Lane Johnson, where he was able to get up and under Lane and drive him back in order to make a nice stop on DeAndre Swift. And I mean, this is just insane. Jalen Carter is only a rookie, but it seems like he's already NFL ready. I mean, it's not easy to go up against the best of the best and win, and Carter was able to do just that on Tuesday. But the craziness doesn't stop there, as according to Glenn Irby of Eagles Wire, quote, the game-wrecking rookie has improved on a daily basis and has started to log some first-team reps. Carter has put his elite power and athleticism on display for Eagles veterans early on. And what Irby said here is very notable, not just because of Carter's apparent continued improvement, but also because of the fact that he's earned some first-team reps, and that continued on Wednesday's practice as Carter got first-team reps during the Eagles practice at the link in the base defense set, and he was also able to get a sack with the second team on Marcus Mariota. So it's going to be really interesting to watch Jalen Carter in the preseason. He's going to get a lot of run, I'm sure, and it's also going to be interesting to watch him once the season gets going, because although I don't think he'll start right away, I do think he'll have a pretty big role on this defense. He's going to be used in a variety of different ways, and if he plays well, he might actually have a chance to earn a starting job at some point during the season. Now, like Carter, someone else who earned first-team reps in the base defense was defensive end Derek Barnett, who's actually had a pretty good camp so far despite not a lot of people mentioning it. But however, Derek Barnett did slip back into an old habit on Wednesday's practice as the first fight of campus happened, and it was none other than Derek Barnett as the main cause of it, as according to Zach Berman, quote, Derek Barnett did not appreciate a block from Landon Dickerson, pushed him to the ground from behind after the play. Teammates came quickly to get between them. And I think every Eagles fan probably had the same thought when they heard this. Man, it's always him. I mean, Barnett clearly has the reputation of being a dirty player so far throughout his NFL career, and he's also started his fair share of fights during practice, so this is really nothing new for Barnett whatsoever. But still, I don't really think this is a big deal in terms of how it's going to affect the team, their morale, and the chemistry that they've built. I mean, fights happen all the time in training camp. You see it with a bunch of other teams around the league. I mean, Travis Kelce made headlines for throwing a couple punches a few weeks back in training camp. Stuff like this happens all the time, and it seems like Derek Barnett and Landon Dickerson seem to have made up pretty quick, as according to Jordan Mailata,
that's not a scuffle. Come on, man. There's nothing to it. There's nothing to it. That was it. There's just nothing to that. I mean, they're hugging in the locker room right now. I hope so.
Everything really seems to be okay there, but still, it is a little bit concerning that Barnett is back in his old ways because of the fact that if he were to do that in the game, there would be some consequences. And one other area of concern throughout camp for the Eagles has been the linebacker position. That's obviously the reason that they went out recently and added two new linebackers to that group in Myles Jack and Zach Cunningham, and it didn't take long for those two to make their presence felt, as both of them got some very meaningful reps on the Eagles defense in their first couple practices, with Zach Cunningham playing mainly with the second team defense, and he was able to make some plays, most notably getting a pass breakup on a Marcus Mariota pass intended for Grant Calcaterra on Tuesday's practice. And meanwhile, Myles Jack has gotten many first-team reps in his first couple practices with the Birds, rotating in with Nicholas Morrow and Christian Elliss at times to play with the starters. And apparently, Jack has looked good so far, as he flashed some nice closeout speed to get to Devontae Smith in the flat after catching a dump off from Jalen Hurts, according to Josh Talentino, and that was on Tuesday's practice. Now, the question is, how much will Myles Jack and Zach Cunningham actually contribute this year? Well, I guess we'll find out. I think that Jack Jack has a legitimate chance to actually start for this team, considering the fact that he already has gotten so many first-team reps with the defense, and it's only been 2 practices. Plus, like I said in my last video, I think Myles Jack has a good amount left in the tank. He was having a pretty good year last year with the Pittsburgh Steelers before a groin injury and some other nagging things limited him down the stretch, so I definitely think he still has more to contribute, and as long as he gets his opportunity here with the Eagles, I think he can be a productive player. But what do you guys think? Will one of these 2 guys start alongside Nakobe Dean, or will it be Nicholas Morrow or Christian Elliss? I mean, Elliss definitely has been making his case, as he's had plenty of highlight plays throughout camp and OTAs, and he was earning all the first-team reps at linebacker on Wednesday's practice, so I guess we'll see if it's Elliss, Jack, Morrow, or someone else. But again, let me know what you guys think. Who will be the other Eagles starting linebacker alongside Nakobe Dean? Speaking of Nakobe Dean, we got some great news regarding him, as he's apparently been working his way back to practice over the past couple days, as he was seen on Tuesday on the sideline in his jersey, and he was able to do some individual work with the trainer. And then on Wednesday, he took another step, as he was listed as limited on the official injury report, and he was back doing more individual work. So it's definitely great to hear that Nakobe's back at practice for the Birds. He's obviously going to have a huge role for this team this year, and his performance is going to be crucial to the success of the defense. I'm personally confident in the second-year linebacker, but what do you guys expect from Nakobe this year? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Now don't worry, we got a bunch more stuff to talk about in this video, but just first, real quick here, I just want to say, if you are enjoying this video and want to see others like it coming in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Around 80% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed. If you're one of those people, you've been consistently watching these videos, you're enjoying them, and you love the Philadelphia Eagles, and you don't want to miss any training camp, preseason, or regular season coverage, make sure you fix that right now, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I think that's a win-win for the both of us. Now, with all that being said, let's get back into the video. Now, of course, we can't go over Eagles training camp practices without mentioning Jalen Hurts, and we obviously know that Hurts has been balling out during practice so far at camp, but during these most recent practices, Hurts has struggled a bit more, going 10 for 14 on Tuesday's practice with no touchdowns and 1 interception, and then on Wednesday, he went 7 for 13 with no touchdowns or interceptions. And it's also worth noting that Hurts apparently had some uncharacteristic misses at practice on both days, so I think it's safe to say that Hurts has come back down to earth a little bit during camp, but don't worry, every quarterback has their off days during training camp, but still, his accuracy and decision making have been on point for the most part this summer. Plus, these practices didn't come without any good plays from Hurts, as his connection with A.J. Brown has still been incredibly strong, dropping an absolute dime to the big wide receiver 50 yards down the left sideline, with Keely Ringo apparently having good coverage on Wednesday. Now, the difference on that play was the accuracy from Hurts, as A.J. Brown didn't have much separation from Ringo, but Hurts just put it in the absolute perfect spot where only Brown could get it. Plus, on Tuesday, Hurts also had another 40-yard completion to Olamide Zaccheaus down the right sideline in 7-on-7s, where he apparently was also 5 for 5. And on top of that, Oz recently gave Jalen Hurts some nice praise, as he said this.
He's he might be 24, but he's turning 35 next year. So he's a lot older than what he looks, you know. So you can see it by the way he works and how he moves throughout the building, and just the respect he commands throughout the building. So it's a very special position and a special person in that position too. So
it's obviously great to hear Hurts get some praise from his teammates, but he also was praised by other NFL players around the league, ranking at number 3 on the NFL's top 100 list this year, which is obviously a list made by the NFL players themselves. And truly, he earned that. I mean, Jalen Hurts absolutely balled out last year, becoming one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL, and he did that through extremely hard work. And if you know anything about Jalen Hurts, that hard work is only going to continue as time moves on. So again, there is no reason to worry whatsoever about Jalen Hurts having a couple mediocre performances at Eagles training camp. Trust me, he's going to be just fine. But now, I do have to go back to that interception that he threw on Tuesday, as the player that picked him off has apparently been really impressive as of late, and that was safety Reed Blankenship. And it wasn't an easy interception that Blankenship had on Hurts at all, as he had to run across the field and dive for the interception, which is a little bit of an underthrow to Quez Watkins, but still, that's some great instinct, some great effort, and ability shown by Reed on that play. And apparently, Blankenship has been flashing those things throughout all of training camp so far, and he has reporter Kendall Beck thinking that he could be a star after this season, with Beck saying, quote, "Reed Blankenship is going to be a household name around the league once the season is over. He's got natural instincts that simply can't be taught. When you combine that with his athleticism, he has potential to be a special player. Last year at this time, he was fighting for a roster spot as an undrafted free agent. Now, he's essentially a lock to be a week 1 starter for one of the best defenses in the league. Get used to hearing his name, because I think he'll be around for for a long time. Now, when I read this, it got me super excited. I mean, safety is definitely a big question mark for the Eagles, but Blankenship has been the one constant at that spot, as he's got all the first team reps at safety throughout all of training camp so far, and essentially at this point, it's pretty much confirmed that Blankenship is going to be a week 1 starter for this team, and if he becomes a star like Beck is suggesting, the Eagles are in really good shape at safety, and they will be for the next few years, and that's because of the fact that Reed Blankenship's contract is insane value because of the fact that he was an undrafted free agent. And that's another thing. I mean, if Reed does become a star like Beck is saying here, we're going to look back and say, how in the world did this guy go undrafted? I mean, Beck does say that he has crazy talent, but something else that Blankenship possesses that's arguably much more important is a strong work ethic and the right mentality. I mean, Blankenship has already improved so much in his short time in the league so far, and now he's going to get a chance to put those improvements on display this year as a week 1 starter. I mean, sure, these are only speculations, but as Kendall Beck noted, he's been good at identifying talent in the past before. He's been right about guys like Cooper Kupp, Alvin Kamara, among others, and as someone who's a huge Reed Blankenship fan, this got me super hyped. But what do you guys think? Just how good will Reed Blankenship be as the starting safety for this team this year? Now, something else that I do want to talk about just real quick here is the experimentation that Desai seems to be doing with his defense right now. I mean, he's really been doing a lot of different things throughout all of training camp, and that includes lining up Josh Sweat as an off-ball linebacker during Tuesday's practice, where he apparently actually had some pretty good coverage on Olamide Zaccheaus, and Desai has also utilized Nolan Smith in a bunch of different ways, including as pass rusher, off-ball linebacker, and the rookie has apparently been extremely impressive pretty much wherever they've lined him up, as he had another good practice on Wednesday in terms of rushing the passer, as he apparently pushed right tackle Jack Driscoll all the way back into Marcus Mariota during 11-on-11s. And speaking of Mariota, the QB2 looks like he's finally finding a rhythm, with reporters noting that he has looked a lot better at practice the past 2 days after struggling for much of training camp, so it's definitely good to hear that Mariota's been slightly impressive over the past couple days. And some other guys that have been impressing are 2 undrafted guys in Joseph Ngata and Mekhi Garner. Now, Ngata on one hand has apparently been the best receiver that isn't a lock to make the roster throughout camp, and he's constantly made plays, using his physical stature and athleticism to his advantage. Meanwhile, Garner has impressed many throughout camp with his physicality, as he's been a big hitting corner that brings a lot of energy, and he showed that off throughout camp. So could these guys actually make the roster? I mean, I think it'll be tough, but preseason could go a long way in figuring things like that out, as both of those guys are going to get a good amount of playing time, and if they show out, the Eagles are going to have a hard time letting either one of them go. So they definitely have to make the most of their opportunities during these games. The first one of those being in just a few days, so I really can't wait for that. But now I have a huge announcement, so pay attention. If you guys have been watching this channel for a long time, you know that a big part of it has been the hype videos, as I release an Eagles hype video for the start of every single season, the start of every single playoff run, and obviously last year with the Super Bowl, and I do the same thing for the Philadelphia 76ers. But the fact of the matter is, I've just gotten to the point where I can't post those videos on this channel anymore, unfortunately, because it's just too big of a risk. So what I've decided to do, instead of just stopping making the videos altogether, is I've created a whole new channel called PhillyFan21 Productions, where I'm going to be posting my hype videos in the future from now on, and that includes the Eagles hype video for this upcoming season, which should be released within the next couple weeks. So if you're a fan of the hype videos, if you're someone that looks forward to them, make sure you go over there and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss when the Eagles hype video goes up. And also, if you like this video and want to see others like it coming in the future, also videos covering the preseason, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications, and also drop a like on this video if you did enjoy it to show some support, and leave a comment down below on anything that I talked about in this video. And also, if you want to watch another video covering the entire Eagles open training camp practice, you can go watch it right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys, so thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.